Welcome to Faith Positive Radio with Dr. Joey Fawcett, the Christian business coaching conversation that increases your faith with greater joy at work so you love God and others more. Dr. Joey interviews Christian business professionals just like you to discover their secrets for working faith positive in a negative world. Welcome to Faith Positive Radio with Dr. Joey Fawcett.
Faith Positive Nation, thanks so much for watching this episode of Faith Positive Radio. I'm really excited today because I'm a dad, and I have two daughters, as you know, as we've talked about before, and they're both daddy's girls. One of them just got married, so we're into that next season of life, trying to figure out what that's all about. Next year, in 2018, daughter 2 gets married. So I will not only be a dad, if God is good, in which he is, I will be a granddad one day. So I get to play with littles again. Today's guest, Faith Positive Nation, is an amazing, game-changing kind of dad himself. In fact, that's the name of his website, GameChangingDads.com. And he's really committed to helping guys like me and other husbands and fathers to really lead, to love, and to live, and all of that from a Christian perspective. So it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce to you, Faith Positive Nation, Raymond Matz. Ray, welcome to Faith Positive Radio, man.
Dr. Joey, appreciate you having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and obviously Ray is from the South like me. So you grew up in Philly, and in Philly you loved some hockey, I understand, Ray?
I did. I just didn't grow up in Philly. I grew up in the hood. I grew up in a row home.
Wow.
Our childhood dreams, getting into my hockey career a little bit, were played on the streets of Philly. I mean, we had so many kids, and just the population was crazy. But, 74, 75 is Philadelphia Flyers won the Stanley Cup, and I was in the streets just going, man, that can be me one day. That's exciting.
Yeah.
But, the money issue was there. My parents didn't have a lot, so that was kind of a little obstacle early on. But, man, what a great area to live in, vibrant, fun, a little crazy at times, but definitely a learning experience when I was younger.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, a lot of places beside Philly are a little crazy. You know what I'm saying? So,
I'm not sure how to word that.
Well, there's just a lot of little crazy places all over the world, right? At least the ones I've been to. So tell me all about your story and how you came to be the creator of Game Changing Dads.
So the reason I chose Game Changing Dads, getting back to my hood story, getting back to my roots, had a great mother, great father. Man, did I miss my father when I was younger. He was a provider. He was absolutely awesome. I loved him, but working a lot. When he was about 45 years old, got into his own supermarket business, so that increased his weekly hours. And it was just, thank God I had my mom, homemaker, always there. But, missing my dad so much. I remember when I got into my 20s, I became an entrepreneur at 18. And I always said to myself, looking back at my father's, our relationship, there wasn't a lot there. And unfortunately, even today, the relationship is just, he was just working all the time. So he didn't understand, how to sit down and have a good conversation. I love him as a provider. He did fantastic. So, when I started my own company, started my own business at 19, 18 years old, it was almost like I wanted to find something that was going to give me free time with my family. Because my experiences early on, I miss my dad. I just wanted that connection. Yeah. And, Game Changing Dads is my experiences with my father, but how I can pour into other men, whether fathers, husbands, and preparing themselves when they're ready to get married or have their relationships, that they know that, man, family's number one. Money's going to be out there. Businesses are going to come and go. But your wife, your kids, your family, and just keeping that together is just so, so, so important.
That's true, Ray. And as Faith Positive Nation has heard me say so many times, you can find a lot of ways to make money, but nobody's made any more time. And that's the most precious commodity we have, really. And we as men do tend to really pour ourselves into our work and define ourselves almost exclusively in that little box of provider. Now, that's important. It really is important. But as your story gives testimony to, kids need presence. They need the gift of your time. So tell me about that business you started when you were 18 or 19.
I started a landscaping company encouraged by my mom. At the time, I thought I was so busy with, being an 18, 19-year-old young man, having a girlfriend, didn't want all the responsibilities. And my mom said, listen, do your own thing. It's super important to be an entrepreneur. Look at your father.
Wow.
And I just started right into the self-employment. Lots of employees, ran that for 17 years. It was a great experience, great learning experience, especially dealing with other people. I wasn't a big people person back in the day. I just didn't understand. I was very like, okay, why do people do this? And I used to run the other way. So there's a lot of learning in my 20s and late 20s.
And that informs how you invest in men today and helping create game-changing dads, I'm sure.
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
Yeah, that's great. So tell us what your typical day looks like as the leader of Game-Changing Dads.
So going back, 11 years ago, got married.
Okay.
3 young kids, 10, 7, and 3 years old. Actually, she's down for a nap right now. So we had an opportunity to be stay-at-home parents, which was great. I was also involved in real estate for many years. So when 2008 hit, we got hit pretty hard. And I made a decision that I just needed to start some new companies where it took kind of me out of the picture a little bit. Having my wife home was awesome, but it just got to a point where I was able to stay home again and have access to the kids. So I actually scheduled, so my day starts out with getting my 2 oldest, 7 and 10 years old, getting them off to school, getting breakfast, coming back, making sure I'm in the room at 8 o'clock to get my 3-year-old up. My wife loves to sleep in. We have different schedules. Appreciate that with your wives. If they're on different schedules, appreciate their position, not their performance. So that's how she chooses to work things. I get up there. Today we did a 2-hour walk on the beach, which was fantastic. I got a phone call that I had a great interview with my friend, Dr. Joey here. So that has been the bulk of my morning. And then usually I'll start to work probably around 9 o'clock to about 12 midnight, just regarding podcasting, masterminds, and some of my coaching clients.
Okay. So you have dads, husbands who come to you for coaching then?
Correct. Yes.
Great. And what sort of issues do they have? Why would dads seek you out?
Well, when I first started the company 6 months ago, I thought being an entrepreneur for 30 years, I figured that was kind of my niche, because literally I've been coaching for years. Started in hockey, but then all of a sudden folks, successful in business, they would come to me, not thinking or even knowing I could actually create a business. What kind of issues? I have a guy right now that's down almost 50 pounds in the last month. So we kind of found out something was holding him back. He wasn't involved in the family anymore. He was just stepping back, but he couldn't figure out what it was. But we had, there was enough information off the bat that we really figured out his weight caught up to him. And he is just on it, accountability, action, and making it happen. We have another fellow currently just bought a brand new business. Has always been an entrepreneur, but looking to switch gears because he wanted some of his time back, because he was typically self-employed, working way too many hours. So he's looking for more of a residual-based business. So it really varies. Whatever they come to, if I can help, great. If not, we can pass them on to someone else.
So what you do is your basic coaching process of helping them start where they are, so you give definition to that reality and then help them get to where they want to be through action and accountability.
Absolutely.
Yeah, whatever the game-changing process for that dad is, for the one, the weight gain, for the other, really shifting his emphasis in his business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man, that you help those folks. So how does faith play a role in your coaching and mastermind groups of these game-changing dads?
Faith is huge. I'm a brand new Christian.
Are you really?
Let me give you that story.
That's awesome.
Brought up in Philly, and, we were churchgoers. The Bible was never available at home.
Okay.
And I grew up very, I want to say religious. I really need to watch where I step here.
No, I understand.
Religious in a place where, if you missed church, I mean, it was horrible. You had neighbors kind of pointing. You had an area going, oh, do not do that again. You need to step into the confessional and do your thing.
Really cross the line, dude.
Exactly. Doing that. I never learned about forgiveness, or maybe I was that young where it just never crossed my plate. I mean, God was in church, but once you left that church, once you opened the doors, no holds barred.
Wow.
Which, looking back, hello. Yeah. not a good walk. Not a good walk.
Well, there are other ways of having a relationship with God than just walking in a building, right?
Absolutely. So at 18 years old, my parents come to me and said, hey, listen, you're done school. It's your decision if we're going to continue church. And I said, hey, I guess we're done. I never, we never prayed before meals. There was never scripture. There was never a Bible. So, my family life, it was never there except for school, which was, there was a foundation there. I didn't know it until 30 years old, up in Philly. My neighbors, super great. I mean, they come into the neighborhood with 3 teenage boys, and I'm thinking, man, they're just going to tear the houses apart. They're going to tear the neighborhood apart. I'm a single guy, 30 years old. What are they thinking? But they were the nicest kids, period. And the parents were super, I mean, always coming over. Hey, do you need help with, you're building something? And I'm like, who? And Philly is not like that. Let me just, I love my Philly brothers. Okay. There's some good ones out there. Majority wise, praying on them constantly.
Yeah, I understand.
And she had said, hey, listen, I teach over at Calvary Chapel, Philadelphia. You need to come down and check it out. And I said, I've heard stories. I know what y'all do over there. I said,
I know what y'all do over there.
There is no possible. Well, here, here's my outside look. I heard they had a band. I heard they had drums, guitar. Now, me growing up.
Are you kidding? Man,
unbelievable. Have you heard?
Oh my God. I've heard of such in church.
And holy hands, people, right? And I'm like, no, I've had friends. I said, no way. A year, constant, slowly. Hey, would you like to join us? Would you like to join us?
Yeah.
The first service, I'm at the back row, back pew. I remember, hey, if I need to get out, boom, I'm out. I said,
that's
y'all go
right.
sit in the front.
We're barely in, weren't you? Yeah.
Amen. Yeah, foot in the door.
You're the guy. You're the guy who's got a foot in the aisle and a foot under the chair, right? And you're ready to scoot.
So, little shout out, Pastor Foch up in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I don't know what he said. Drums are playing, praise and worship music. I'm like, weird. Okay, I'm just gonna block my ears. This isn't happening.
Yeah.
Well, Pastor Foch comes out. Okay, you ready for this? He's talking about his family. Whoa. Red flag. I was always taught, if you're preaching the gospel, you're a man of God, you're not supposed to be married. This is my upbringing. I don't know where that came from. Maybe that came from my family.
Yeah.
All right. Weird. He's got kids. What? Is that biblical?
This is like totally outside of your 9 dots, man.
Unbelievable. But what a great experience. I remember a couple of things he said, but he talked about at the very end, he said, the bottom line is you. It's not about church. It's not about religion. It's about you having a relationship with Jesus Christ. And I said, 30 years?
Wow.
Really? I'm looking up going, that's awesome. Like, what? It hit me, and I'm going, oh, that felt good. There's something different here. People were really nice, little weird. Now I'm the weird one.
But you're kind of weird, huh?
Unbelievable. And I just, they invited me again. All of a sudden, altar call. Boom. Oh, yeah. Saved, born again. I don't know what you just said. I need to figure out what a relationship is.
Wow.
30 years old. 20 years ago. And I'm still, I wake up refreshed. I wake up where my light source comes from.
Yes.
It is incredible. Absolutely love it. Not sure
Mm.
where that question was going, but
No, man, that's great. I appreciate that story because so many of us associate faith with religion. And that is, it's more about getting the attendance roll checked than it is your heart checked or your gut checked, right? But your story is beautiful because it's more about relationship. Now that you've been in this relationship for 20 years, what difference does that make in how you help these dads change?
my perspective at 30 years old changed everything. And I'll get
Hmm.
into the dads, but I understood that I wasn't alone in business anymore. I wasn't alone in my relationships. Like once
Mm-hmm.
I left church, like God
Mm-hmm.
was with me at 30 years old. Like I
Mm-hmm.
started reading
Mm-hmm.
the Bible. And I remember a pastor talking about like, if you're questioning things, go to the source, pray on it and go to the Bible. So I started
Absolutely.
picking out a lot of my background stuff and saying, was that biblical? And all of a sudden, whether it was making money or success or losing or, hilltops and valleys or mountaintops and valleys, it's okay. God has you in his hands. And I'm like, hello, that's awesome. I mean, just
Yeah, because nobody had ever told you that, had they? You thought you were out
un-
there by yourself through these peaks and valleys of business.
absolutely. Absolutely. So what I encourage husbands and fathers is just, lead, love, and live. If there is not a relationship there, we
Mm,
need to figure out what that looks like for you. And everybody's different timing in God's eyes. I get that.
sure.
We have a lot of folks that don't have faith that we work with. We can
Mm,
just pray on them. I'm not going to be the Bible thumping guy,
yeah.
but I'm going to lay down my foundation and how my life changed at 30 years old. And it
Mm,
gave me a brand new window to look through.
so you're going to tell your story, and in your story, maybe they'll hear their own story, and so they'll be intrigued enough to discover what this relationship's all about.
Absolutely.
Man, that's awesome. So what does it look like for, let's say the dad is a believer. What does it look like for a believing dad to lead? And I'm going to pluck these off: lead, love, and live, because those are your three primary benefits. What does it look like for a believing dad to lead?
To lead starts out in the household.
Okay.
To being the leader, whether it's taking the kids to church, going above and beyond kind of what's expected in the household. And,
What does
my
that mean?
story,
What
my
does that mean
story goes
beyond
back
what's
where,
expected?
when I got married, everyone has kind of that preconceived, well, you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to do that. But, I remember looking for that manual in my marriage license.
It didn't come with one. No.
And I remember having friends that I thought were mentors when I was younger. And they would say, oh, I can't believe my wife's not doing this. And I can't believe the kids are. And I remember going, okay, is that the rules? Like your expectations are so. And I
Yeah.
remember getting into it going, you know, appreciating my wife's position as a mom should
Mm.
be perfect. That's it. Does she have to clean? Does she have to cook? We both don't cook, so I don't know how the kids don't starve. Okay.
Take out, right?
If it's in the budget, absolutely. But just a role as a father, whether it's, laundry, whether it's household chores, to be the leader. Because here's the deal. Our kids are watching all this. I watched
24/7.
my dad work and work and work. Pizza night, 10 o'clock, Friday evenings was my time with my dad. Outside of that, forget it, unless he was playing softball on Sundays. But it's so important because, like I said, our kids they watch every little step. I don't care if they're 1 or they're 10 or what, they're watching. And to lay down that foundation saying, hey, man, my dad goes, never complains. Don't get me wrong. That's hard sometimes. Hello, I get tired too. All right. But just appreciate that you have a family, that you have kids. I think some fathers miss that. They have healthy kids, but yapping about their finances or what their wife doesn't do. I don't want to say hockey, we would drop the gloves and probably punch someone out at that time. But, we need to love these fathers and appreciate where they are and pray and talk about where they could be down the road.
Okay. So a game-changing dad leads with a certain amount of flexibility and appreciation for everybody's needs in his family. What about a game-changing dad? How does he love?
How's he love? Love through every aspect. Love through kindness. Love through
Mm,
forgiveness.
mm,
I grew up without a lot of forgiveness, where somebody did something wrong. I mean, boom, check off the list.
yep.
Oh, two
Mm,
checks, three checks are out.
mm,
I had a lot of relationship issues in my 20s and 30s prior to that relationship with Christ. I didn't know any better.
mm.
Forgiveness?
Yeah. What's
No, no,
that?
no. You're checking off the list. And do we do that sometimes? Absolutely.
Yeah,
We're
we
perfect
do.
beings. We know that. But I try to strive where just forgiveness and love, looking out for one another, loving your neighbor, not because they're A, B, and C, because they're our neighbor, whether they look different, whether they act different, whether they believe or not, the love period across the board. And
Yeah, that
the kids see
unconditional
that. They
love.
understand that. Amen.
Yeah, and if our kids don't get that from us, and by the way, other people too, like the people that work on your team and things like that, or in your case as a business owner, the people who work for you, if they don't get that unconditional love, particularly your children, right there in the home, I mean, where are they going to get it? Because everybody else is walking around carrying a list, right? The revolutionary thing, though, that sets teams on fire and company, it just really helps companies accelerate their growth, though, is when we do love God and others more as part of our faith positive work style. We demonstrate that love through, like what you're talking about, is forgiveness. How can we work on this so it's we instead of us versus them? That's what I hear you saying, man. So a game-changing dad, how does he lead and love and live? How does a game-changing dad live?
Well, I mean, we can talk about leading and loving. And if you're not going to live through those first two, I mean, where are we?
Mm,
And I'm talking about living our faith, not just keeping it on Sunday mornings, not keeping it in the home, but in the community, in church, whether it's serving at church, whether it's children's ministry, whether it's
mm-hmm,
community work. I mean,
mm-hmm.
getting out there, living, what God intended us just to be and live like. I think we have so many doors in front of us, and maybe fear catches us, or the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, that drives me crazy. I've always been the guy going, I'm opening doors. Hey, sometimes you got to shut them a little quicker.
That's right. You
Bad
open them and you
choice.
get scared, and so you shut them quickly.
But
But
we're
other times you
missing.
run through them, right?
Absolutely. But I think we hesitate so much because maybe we're watching the neighbors, or we're, keeping up with the Joneses, and we're missing so many opportunities, whether it's business, whether it's friend, whether it's serving,
Ray, that is so
that
true, man.
I don't want to be the guy at 90 years old looking back. And I've talked to folks, man, I wish I would have did A, B, C, and D. I don't want to be, I don't, no regrets, and just let it roll. And I see
Yeah,
a lot
no,
of folks just, they're lost in the world, and they don't have a tight relationship, and they're kind of teeter and totter. They won't put all their trust in God. And don't get me wrong, I had the same issue. I get it, but there's
yeah.
got to be a step ahead instead of going back.
Well, you put your finger on the pulse of the whole thing right there, and that is it's all about faith. You got to have faith to trust God and to believe that God has called you to this, whatever it is, and that it's part of your divine design and it's your calling in your life. And man, once you get what I refer to as the internal affirmation and the external confirmation, go, just charge off. But it's a matter of trust. We allow fear of pleasing other people, right? We allow that to take precedence over pleasing God. If God calls you to it, as T.D. Jakes says, he'll get you through it, right?
Absolutely. And I hear this a lot. What if it doesn't work out? Whatever that path may be. Well,
Yeah,
there may be some great learning experiences to take on to the next. But
absolutely.
what if
Nothing's
we don't
wasted.
open that door?
Well, and you get to be 90, or man, look, I know some dads who are in their 50s and they're saying, well, I've got all this time in, I've got 30 years in this career, I'm a blah, 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 blah. But what I really wanted to do was, and then their eyes light up and they come alive, and you just look at them and say, well, what's stopping you from doing it now? what, it's not too late to start.
Absolutely. And that's great advice.
Ray, what kind of challenges, what one challenge do you face in coaching these game-changing dads?
One challenge that I face, man, great question. I would definitely say accountability.
Tell me more about that. Why is that a challenge?
Accountability, and accountability, faith. Let's see. Let's start out with accountability. What do I mean by accountability? And it's usually with the newer guys in the group.
Okay.
We need some kind of accountability. We need honesty, goes with accountability. There's a handshake there. Now, if they don't want to have that honesty, they don't want to live in a glass house in our group, there's really nothing there. Maybe it's down the road a year, they can open up. Vulnerability is huge also.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. I know at 30 years old, prior to 30 and not knowing who God really was for me, I was just a closed door. You were not getting in, no nothing. So you wondered my relationships. I struggled with porn for years. You wonder why all that stuff was there. But as I started walking, hey, we're all sinners. We need to share these stories with someone so we can understand that we all go through different situations. So when the walls are up for a lot of these men and it's tough to break the walls down, that's probably the number one thing. Because even with this one person with the weight, this took months and he couldn't figure out. I'm not going to point the finger, but I think a lot of folks really need to kind of look inward and say, okay, well, why am I missing out? Then all of a sudden, I just let myself go. I'm X amount of pounds and it's affecting everything. Until that wall comes down, there's some honesty, there's transparency, then the game will change.
Right. Well, first you got to get honest with yourself is what I hear you saying. And
Absolutely.
So we're back to that relationship with Christ, right? Who loves me unconditionally and yet loves me enough not to leave me as I am, wants me to have the best life, wants me to have my heart's desires. And so he's willing to hang in there with me and help me do whatever I need to do to draw closer to him. So getting honest with myself, and then I can be honest with you, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Ray, somebody in Faith Positive Nation is going to want to reach out to you. How's the best way for them to do that, particularly the men who want to become game-changing dads?
Awesome. Thank you, Joey. GameChangingDads.com. We have podcasts there. We just have a lot of free information. And we do a Tuesday morning launch for our podcast. Like I said, all the information's there at www.GameChangingDads.com.
Wonderful. So we can email you directly or get information about you from your website at GameChangingDads.com. And if you're on a treadmill right now or walking the dog or driving down the road, don't worry about it. GameChangingDads.com is in the episode copy, so you can click and go right over there and check out Ray Matz. Ray, Faith Positive Nation always wants to know about our guest's favorite Bible verse or Bible passage. You got one?
I do. Philippians 4:13. It's my go-to. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And if you think about that, all things, not some, not a little, not just all things. Bring everything to him. At 30 years old, I learned that. Just bring everything. He strengthens me. Better than that.
Right, man, that's beautiful. Philippians 4:13 is a great passage. Well, Ray Matz at GameChangingDads.com. He helps husbands, he helps fathers learn to lead and love and live the way Christ intends them to. Ray, thank you so much for the gift of your time today, man. And hey, we got this podcast done before the 3-year-old woke up from her nap. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that great? That's wonderful. Well, God bless you and your beautiful wife and those 3 incredible boys and your daughter, or 2 incredible boys and that daughter. Thank you so much, Ray, for your gift of your time today. We pray God's blessings on all of you.
Thank you. Right back at you, Dr. Joey. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Faith Positive Radio, the Christian business coaching conversation that increases your faith with greater joy at work so you love God and others more. Suggest guests and ask questions when you email Dr. Joey at info@getpositive.today. And be sure to get your free gift of the 5 positive business conversations to have today coaching program at getpositive.today. Until next time, may God bless you with everything your heart can hope for and more than your mind can imagine.